Recently connected. The dashboard remembered what I wanted to forget. When you detail cars for a living, you see everything people hide in plain sight. Beach sand ground into the carpet of sedans that have never been near water, parking tickets tucked under visors as if shame needs shade, glove compartments turned into altars, lip balm, napkins, expired cards, worship of the road. You also see the part that doesn't get vacuumed: data, Bluetooth menus, navigation history, recent calls that don't erase the way crumbs do. I was remounting the head unit in my wife's car after swapping a cracked screen when I hit the button out of habit. Recently connected slid onto the display like an uninvited guest. First, Lena's iPhone, that's my wife. Second, Shop iPad, that's our checkout tablet. Third, Gabe's Pixel, starred, connected 3 times that week around noon. I told myself a story because stories are tools. Gabe could be a customer she gave a ride to during lunch. She works at a flower wholesaler near the river. Their loading dock is a downtown of its own. People ask for favors while holding peonies and common sense slips on the pedals. I closed the menu and tightened the final screw and tried to reinstall Trust the way you reinstall a panel. Press until you hear the click that means home. The click didn't come. Some things you can't push into place without breaking them. Lena came into the garage with 2 paper cups of coffee and a smudge of pollen on her wrist, green, proof she'd been near living things. "How's my dashboard?" she asked, hip against the fender like it was a friend she trusted to keep secrets. "Shiny," I said, which was true. "Fix the touchscreen." She kissed me, quick and work warm. "You're the best," she said, which is a compliment that says more about the speaker than the subject. I swallowed the menu I'd seen and let the coffee put a lid on the thought. We have a rule: don't interrogate while standing. That night on the couch I said, "Casual, weird thing in your car." Gabe's Pixel showed up. Her face didn't break, it rearranged. "He's one of the drivers," she said. "We tested his playlist." She sipped. "Why? Is the radio making you jealous?" "Yes," I said, and kept it a joke. We went to bed. She fell asleep with the easy drop of a body that had carried buckets, ladders, and everybody else's urgency all day. I lay awake and listened to the fridge hum its small sermon about consistency and told myself reasonable stories. Gabe is gay. Gabe is married. Gabe is a woman. Gabe is a ghost in the machine, some software name from a tech who forgot to rename his phone after a firmware update. I sharpen when I feel foolish, less rage than an accountant's pen. The next day I set the shop's dashcam on my tool cart, and when we closed I opened the footage from Lena's car and froze on the lunchtime slice. Door opens, a male voice. "You weren't kidding, your husband keeps this place museum clean." Lena: "He likes when things start working again." I closed the laptop and decided not to decide for 24 hours. That buys me 24 hours of not turning detective. 6 years married, we decorate our days with small rules: text if late, apologize with ice cream when you forget milk, say ladder when you need out and the other brings one. By most measures, a good small team. "Tell me 3 good things about your day," I said that night while we washed dishes with our forearms parallel. She said. The wedding white peonies were finally opening. A kid from the back brought her a sandwich without being asked. She caught a bouquet that tried to jump off a cart and didn't drop it. I said, "Mr. Gonzalez's '98 Civic found its idol again. I didn't lose a single screw. My brother called to say our mother's tomatoes are plotting a coup." "Fourth thing," I added, because I am greedy when the world behaves. "Who's Gabe?" She dried her hands on a towel she refuses to replace even though it's more whole than cloth and said, "A driver. A good one. He's fast like you." The towel found its hook, and her mouth found mine. "You know I love you," she said into the kiss. which is the oldest and most efficient way to answer a question you didn't want asked. We kissed like people applying for the same job again. It was laughing and safe. For a while the present was enough. Next afternoon a man arrived with a bouquet that made the door look small. "For Lena," he said. "Tell her Gabe stopped by." After he left I found no card. I put the vase in the fridge. At home I led with honesty. Gabe brought flowers. Lena looked and said, "Unnecessary." Then, "He's been friendly. I like being seen by someone not keeping score. I haven't cheated. I've been careless." Careless can become a road. "I need a boundary I don't have to babysit," I said. "One that holds even when you're busy being kind." "Phones stay out of cars," she said immediately. "No playlists, work only." "That's a good start," I said, because it was, and because the part of me that collects grudges like bottle caps needs to be supervised by the part that loves getting on with it. We went to a wobbly chair diner. We played Say the Want. "I want you to grab my shirt in the hallway. I want you to notice." We were embarrassing and good at it. A week later at the dock Gabe said, "Playlist tomorrow." "No," Lena answered. "House rule." He laughed and wandered off. Something ordinary in me stood up and sat down. On the drive home, Lena put her foot on the dashboard, which I hate, and I didn't mention it because sometimes the wrong remark ruins the right win. "You were impressive," I said instead. "He was boring," she said. "That helps." She looked out the window. "Also, you looked steadier than jealousy. That helps more." Steady is not my default. I work for it. We went to one therapy session because I believe in paying professionals to ask the questions you avoid. The therapist was a woman with a plant that looked like it had opinions. "What did Gabe give you that your marriage wasn't giving you?" she asked Lena, and Lena said, "Less history." The therapist nodded like a mechanic who has fixed that leak before. "And you?" she asked me. "What did he threaten?" I said, "My competent version of myself." And also, because I had paid for the hour, my right to be the only person who makes her laugh at stoplights. Homework, 1 hour a night without devices. One confession we'd rather save for later. One request not dressed as a joke. Homework works when you're the kind of people who do lists and keep screws sorted. We were. We did it. I said I want urges, not aftermaths. That confidence makes me petty, that I fear becoming a man who itemizes forgiveness. She said she fears being liked only when useful, wants to be asked for by name. Mrs. Risk she wouldn't make me clean up. We didn't turn into saints. When Gabe's pixel flickered again, I asked instead of assuming. "It auto-found him," she said. I said no. Honesty beat proof. 2 months later, the dashboard list showed only the devices that actually belonged to us. The car still remembers the wrong names. It's not a saint either. Sometimes, when we start the engine and the Bluetooth chimes, I think about the kind of proof that surfaces when you press a button and the kind you build with grocery lists and unsexy cups of tea, and noticing the way the other person holds their shoulders when they're pretending. Last Friday, after we closed the shop, Lena appeared at the garage door holding a small speaker the size of a loaf of bread. "For science," she said, and cued a song that had no words, only a bass line that thinks it's a tide coming in. "We can have playlists," she said, "if we're in the same room." We slow danced badly among the toolboxes, our dog circling like a chaperone, the smell of rubber and coffee trying to rebrand as romance. It worked better than it should have. We laughed when my elbow hit the emergency window crank and set it off like applause. She put her forehead to my cheek and said, like a person asking for the kind of thing you can only get by staying, "Will you remind me again that you like me more than I am useful?" "Yes," I said, "even when you're useless." She bit my shoulder, just enough to write her name there. The dashboard remembers, and so do we. In the morning, the Bluetooth shows Lena's iPhone, shop iPad, nothing else. I say it out loud like liturgy, then turn the radio off and listen for the quieter truths. The belt not squealing, the idol finding itself. My wife in the next room humming to a plant that decided to bloom.